On the resource curse, I think I said in the discussion that one of the dangers of what I call the good growth is that we may actually fall back into fragility. And the big countries that are growing are Nigeria, Angola, Ethiopia, and we all know that they're very, very fragile. So it is happening. So it's, and it's not just a question of the resource curse. It is this equality of how it is spread, how it is being used. I think we have come full circle from talking about the resource curse to beginning to manage it in some countries like Ghana, where we're beginning to do a better job of creating the sovereign wealth fund and beginning to save something for the future. In Nigeria, I think we're beginning to start that discussion, but it's, as you all know, had some skids and false starts. In Angola, they're still very, very far behind, and that is the problem. That is why you have the fragility. It is the inequality in Angola that is so high, and the military leaders that want to keep that power. Yes, it's true. In Angola, they have no sewage. A night in a hotel in Angola I've been is $1,500. But this is the difference of Angola. A cup of coffee is $15. But when you go outside, they have no clean drinking water. It is not sustainable. So they will fall into fragility, which was the other question. What our WDR talked about was creating peace, justice, and security in jobs. Justice, security, and jobs are the three things that you need to stop fragility. The problem is not to try to stop fragility, because we also said in the WDR that it takes at least 10 years and most probably 20 years to get out of a fragile situation. So the question is, how do you build a social contract before so that people feel that they belong and that they don't need to dislocate the society? And then you work for peace, justice, and jobs. How can we, if you have a visionary leader, he will certainly want security. He will certainly want to give more jobs, because that is where you get inclusiveness. And he will certainly create a better security environment. So the question then is, how much does it cost us to wait and have fragility and then deal with it, as opposed to preparing and making sure that we don't have it? And the way of doing that, again, is to create a shared vision of how you do it and how you go forward with it. Businesses, like you see, your question came to, well, we have all these universal declarations. But as you all know, Google has a different vision from Yahoo, from Facebook, from the World Bank, from the IMF. Each culture needs a vision. We all need to have something that binds us together that is different from the Universal Declaration, so that we can implement it as one, so that we have a vision for something that binds us together. Otherwise, we could just all become part of the United Nations, but we're not. So we need something that brings us at a certain unit of analysis together so that we can work together. On the debt question, yeah, it's 2012, so it's a little bit, I don't think we worry a lot about it anymore, because we've gotten a lot of debt forgiveness. A lot of these countries have gotten their debt down to below 10% of GDP. A lot of them are rising it up again because we're taking expensive concessional loans, and that is a different problem. So I think if there are different kinds of debt. There is maybe the debt of fragmentation. There is maybe the emotional and the sociological and the psychological debt. But I think that we are where we can now decide that we can get ourselves out of this problem and then come back and discuss what is reparation. And Italy is still discussing with the French to get its artwork back. They didn't say, okay, we won't do anything, we will stop producing art. And no, they kept going. And then one day they said to the French, can we have our artwork back? Can we have our... And I think we went through the 1980s, and this is one of the reasons why Africa is growing, because a lot of the countries went through what we call the high income debt reduction facility, and the debt went down to below 10% of GDP, below 19% of GDP. That's very sustainable. The question then becomes, if you have a good leader, can you keep the debt at that level? A lot of the debt forgiveness happened 8, 9 years ago. Some countries are going back into debt, on sustainable debt levels. This is not about colonialism. This is about bad leadership. So we need to begin to take responsibility for that. And this is very important, because the discussion about whether you want debt forgiveness and whether you has happened, and a lot of countries have gotten it. So the question now is, when you get it, can you then be responsible and disciplined and do the right thing? And then finally, I think there was the question on the protest and how long do you need to protest, and if you have that was your question, if you have a dictator that crushes you. My sense is, I think we will not always win the first time around when you decide to sort of form this discussion around transformation. But it is a process. Again, that's what I said. It takes some patience. It takes gathering. Is the Occupy Nigeria movement continuing? Is the Occupy Nigeria movement now putting in place a vision for Nigeria? This is, I think, the problem in Nigeria, is that there is no shared vision. Yesterday we were talking about what goes on in Sokoto, what goes on in Kano. Is the Boko Haram together with the South? Does the South respect the North? There is no shared vision. You keep asking that question. You are one of the biggest nations on the continent. Maybe you need the vision and the rest of us would adhere to it. But that vision doesn't come out. And we need that vision because you are the most diverse country on the continent as well. If you succeed, then it is clear that we can succeed. Malaysia is just as diverse as Nigeria. But they managed to have a vision. They managed to pull themselves out because there was a leader who was transformational, who decided that he could do that. He could pull them out and then come back to the fragmentation that exists within the society. But there was a vision before. So it's not impossible.
Thank you. Right.
Thank you.
Thank you.